What's up guys, it's Matt Collins-Jones here, also known as the D365 Geek, and today we're talking about Power Automate and the Office 365 Outlook connector, and we'll look at the trigger, which is when an email is flagged v3. So this trigger allows you to trigger a flow based on flagging an email in a folder. Now, a lot of people use flagging of emails to denote something that they need to do, usually come back and action the email or do something else with it. And this allows us to actually trigger a flow based on that. So you could have a flow that is triggered based on flagging the emails and then say add an action to your to-do list if you didn't already have to do and it didn't already do that, or add an action to planner or something like that. So this allows you to do multiple things based on that sort of a trigger. So let's take a look at it today. So in Power Automate, I have a flow here and I'm going to choose the Office 365 Outlook connector that's right here at the top, so that's nice and easy to find. Then I'm going to use this one when an email is flagged v3, so click on that. You'll notice that the first thing it asks me for is a folder. So we can actually do this on multiple folders. So if you didn't want to flag this from your inbox and instead you have multiple folders, because you have filters that filter emails into other inboxes and you only want it to run on those inboxes because you have a certain way of working, you can absolutely do that with this trigger, and you can just specify the folder right here. It does have a picker as well, so I can click on the picker and choose which folder I want to run this on. As you can see, we've got things like the sent folders, the outbox, the junk items, etc. I can also expand the show advanced options, and that's going to give me a list of all of my filters for this flow. So this is going to filter on to, CC, to or CC, or from. So what this means is that if the to recipient in here, maybe if the to contains maybe your boss or someone important in your company or someone else, you can say, okay, if this is to that person, then trigger this flow, else don't trigger this flow. In this instance, you could have it sort of say if the to contains like my name, for instance, or my email address, then we can trigger this. CC is the same again. To or CC allows you to switch back and forth. So if, say, an email address is contained in one or the other, and you flag this email, then it's going to trigger this flow. And the from is who you're sending it from. So in all of these instances, we can specify multiple people or multiple email addresses inside of here. They're separated by semicolons, and then if any of those email addresses are in the email that you're flagging and then in here, then it will trigger this flow. We have include attachments, so we can say whether this is going to run when attachments are on the email or not. So this says if an attachment is on the email, run it. So if I set this to yes and the email had an attachment and I flagged it, it would run. If I save this as no, then it's not going to run based on that criteria. But that's to say that it won't not run, it'll just not run based on that. So if I left all these things blank and selected that as yes, it meant that if the email did contain an attachment and I flagged it, it would trigger the flow. Subject filter, so we can filter it based on the subject line. So if you have a bit of text that maybe there's an automated email or something that always contains the same string of text, you could have this flag the email and then filter it based on if it contains that text or not. We're going to do a certain action. So maybe if it contains test there and you flag it, then you don't want this to run. But if you have something like important email about business and you flag it, then it will run and do something. Importance, so you can specify the importance. So if it comes in and it's a high importance, do something. If it comes in and it's a low importance, do something. So that's something that you can trigger. And only with attachments. So we can actually, so this is where these two are kind of work in tandem. The only with attachments means that if you flag an email, so if you set this to yes and you flag an email, and the email does not have an attachment, it means that it will not trigger if this is set to no. So you can specify to only trigger this if it has an attachment. which is a cool thing as well. So in this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in one of my email addresses. So we're going to put in my clipboard this one. We're going to separate with a semicolon. No, we're going to remove that. I'm just trying to tab out. So if you tab out, it's going to render it like it's an email in Outlook, and therefore we know that this filter is working. And we can click on New Step, and we can just add a compose action, and we can just get a piece of dynamic content. So we'll get maybe the from, we'll get the subject, and we'll get something else as well. What do we want? Maybe the, I don't know, message ID, whatever that looks like. So we're going to trigger this if the from is dynamics365geek@gmail.com, and we flag the email, then it's going to trigger. Else we're going to do this compose action, and then we're going to do this compose action anyway. So we will test this out. So we'll click on test. I'll perform the trigger action, save and test. Now it's running. Now this is my Outlook inbox, so I've got this email flagged already. But if I do something like, say, flag one of my emails down here, for instance, let's hit the flag button. See, this email is now flagged, it's all yellow, and I go back to the flow, it doesn't run. It doesn't run because it doesn't meet the criteria, because it's not from dynamics365geek@gmail.com. If I scroll up to where I've got dynamics365geek@gmail.com and I tick it, so it was flagged, I've ticked it there, and therefore it's it's completed, it's done, I don't need to do anything with it. Again, go back to the flow, it's not triggering. It's only when I set this to flag that the flow will trigger. So if I hover over it, now it says unflag message. Before it said flag message. So this is now flagged. We can see it's yellow. We can see it's from Dynamics 365 Geek. If I go back to my flow now, we can see the flow's run successfully. So we know that those filters and those trigger filters are running and working. So we see it ran here, and we can see some details. So we can see that the email address it came from, that's the one we had in our filter criteria. We can see the subject, Power Automate Test, and we can see the message ID as well, which is a bunch of numbers and letters. So that's all cool. So there you have it. So this gives you loads of control. I know a lot of people flag emails and things like that to make sure that they do actions, and then you just get a list of all your emails with a bunch of different things that you don't clear out of your inbox because there's still actions based on them. But what if you could do something else with it? Once you flag an email that is maybe going into a certain mailbox because that's a mailbox for your project, we then create a planner task on your planner board to then do something based on that. So that's one instance of how you could use this. But as always, I'd like to know what you guys use this for. So let me know in the comments down below what you use this for, how you use it. I'm always looking for new use cases. If you did like this video, if you could like and share it with your friends, that would be much appreciated. If you've not already, hit that subscribe button, stay up to date with all my latest videos, and I'll see you next time.